March. The Empire's on the run. Alex Jones and the GCN Radio Network.
Another major health threat, this one in Toledo, Ohio, where everybody in the entire city has been told not to drink the water.
Ohio's governor declaring a state of emergency.
Did you know that the average person uses about 80 to 100 gallons of water at home every single day? If there's a water emergency, will you be prepared?
Panicked residents forming long lines throughout the day.
We're here at a supermarket in Toledo. You can see the shelves empty where water once was.
To stay safe and healthy during a crisis, you must have access to safe, clean water. Water which will not be available at your local grocery store.
There's a mad dash on right now to stock up on supplies.
The ProPure Pro 1 G2.0 water filtration system is a must-have for every modern, independently minded household. Protect your family's safety during an emergency. Go to InfoWarsStore.com today to purchase your ProPure Pro 1 G2.0 water filtration system or call 1-888-253-3139.
Hey, how you doing, Alex?
Good, brother.
Just recently started using your products. Everything you said about them's correct. Me and my wife both use a lot of them, and it's made a lot of changes in our lives here.
Well, thank you, brother. It's because it also funds our operation, but doing that, I know I've got to have the highest quality. Super Male Vitality was developed to activate your body's own natural processes instead of using synthetic chemicals.
We do the Super Male and the Super Female Vitality. Big changes, a lot of energy. We've gotten off of the cheap energy drinks, energy shots, saving a ton of money there.
Sourced from powerful organic herbs, harvested around the planet, and then concentrated for maximum potency. They want to stun and dumb down, and energy drinks and stuff just cover that up for a while, but then burn you out, in my experience, whereas stuff that gets your glands naturally going goes right to the source. So it's pretty exciting, and I love it. Visit InfoWarsLife.com today to secure your Super Male Vitality and other powerful products from InfoWars Life. Used since before the days of the Roman Empire to support the body's natural systems. Introducing the new InfoWarsLife.com oil of oregano formulation. We have now procured the most high quality and potent forms of oregano oil on the market. Extracted directly from the wild herb and sealed in easy-to-use capsules. You will no longer need to endure the burning of liquid oregano on the tongue. Now available in our limited first run at InfoWarsLife.com. That's InfoWarsLife.com or call 888-253-3139. Alex Jones here. For the last 2 years, I've been working with top doctors, nutritionists, and chemists to design a nutraceutical formulation that has truly life-changing health benefits. Introducing the all-new Ancient Defense Herbal Immunity Blend. Experience the benefits of combining over 14 ancient herbs and extracts with exciting new advances in nutraceutical science. Visit InfoWarsLife.com or call 1-888-253-3139. That's InfoWarsLife.com.
Waging war on corruption. It's Alex Jones.
Last night I heard this politician talking about...
Welcome back to the Alex Jones Show. I'm David Knight. We have Paul Joseph Watson with us for just a few more minutes, and Paul's going to be leaving. We got a special report coming up tied to the article that's on Infowars.com. Russia has constructed massive underground shelters in anticipation of nuclear wars. A special report from Alex Jones. We're going to play that in just a moment. Before we get back to our caller, before we get to that, though, I want to let you know that the DNA Force that's available for 30% off just to the end of this month. Just a couple of days left. And, of course, it's a very potent antioxidant blend. It supports health in heart and brain, as well as your mitochondrial health. The telomeres, the length of your telomeres in your DNA are very strong predictor of the length of your life. You need to protect your DNA as well as your immune system. This has a potent antioxidant blend. It protects you from environmental toxins, and of course it supports you aging in a healthy manner. It has resveratrol, but not just any resveratrol, it's trans-resveratrol, the active isomer of resveratrol that's been clinically proven to support the body's natural defense damage. And so that's available right now for 30% off for the first time under $100 at InfoWarsLife.com. It's so expensive because it contains Bio-PQQ, a very, very expensive nutrient in that proprietary blend. Let's go back real quickly to MD in Istanbul. I want to get your comments quickly there, MD, and then I want to get Paul Joseph Watson's comments on what you have to say before we go to the report. Go ahead, MD.
Okay, what I would like to add to what I already said is every president in the world is a Manchurian candidate. They do not work for the people. They work for the system. You in the United States, because the sheeple has woken up, have become a liability. And this liability will be dealt with Operation Jade Helm. Now, people are waking up all over the world. So they are expecting some sort of a resistance all over the world. This is why we're heading towards a global conflict.
Yes, absolutely. And, you know, it's not just you saying this in Istanbul. We had James Madison essentially say that if tyranny and oppression come to this land, it will come in the guise of fighting a foreign enemy. Paul, your comments before we go to Alex's report.
Well, basically, America is the bulwark against tyranny. There's never going to be a hot tyranny in America so long as you're armed. You know, there are 70 to 80 million gun owners, 300 million guns in the United States. That's 300 times the amount possessed by the police. You can't have a tyranny so long as that's the case. So it would be absolute lunacy for the law enforcement authorities or the military to conduct these disarmament procedures, these door-to-door procedures, which is why, for the moment, it's not going to happen. And that is your main protection against it.
Absolutely. They're looking for a way to not have to go door to door. They can just take all of our ammunition. That's why they focus that on gun control. Let's go to Alex Jones' report. Thank you so much, Paul Joseph Watson from the UK. This is Alex Jones on Russia's underground shelters built in anticipation of a nuclear war.
America is a captured nation. To a great extent, we are dominated by foreign offshore corporations. That's not even a secret anymore. CNBC, you name it, comes out and admits we're under global government run by private offshore central banks.
Is this global governance at last? Is it one world, the central bankers in charge? But aren't we all just living and dying for what the central banks do?
Of course we are. We are absolutely slaves to central banks.
And that's how it always works. When we were trying to expose the globalist takeover 20 years ago, they said it wasn't happening. We said that it was specifically not just a global corporate conspiracy, but that it was run by private families owning the world's central banks. And now it's admitted. We told you there was a plan to militarize the police 20 years ago, and we're attacked all over the national news. Now it's admitted. They don't want to debate something before they've completed its establishment. They want to debate it after it's in place, and then ridicule those that dare even criticize it. These are the tactics used. We knew Obamacare had death panels. We knew it had all these nightmarish provisions in it to raise taxes on poor people and the middle class alike. But the system played us like fools, the general population, and kept denying that it was in the bill, even though the bill was public. But with things like the North American Union Treaty and the Security and Prosperity Partnership and the Asian Union, they're just keeping those completely secret. Now, I'm going to get into a story, an issue, that if we can understand this, it's what I call a Rosetta Stone. It will decode everything else. And there are a lot of these stories out there, but this one is one of the biggest. And I've talked about it before, but never shot a special report. So I want to spend a few minutes tonight talking about an issue that is one of the most important on our planet. And if we understand this, it's a doorway to a wider world. And that's what we're trying to do here at Infowars.com. We wear our bias of telling the truth and being pro-human and pro-freedom on our sleeves openly. We're here to show you the hat trick. We're here to show you how the scam works, because we believe in economies based on quality and honor and innovation and renaissance, not economies based on war and deception and fraud and surveillance and crony capitalism and gangs. Now, that said, I want to discuss the issue of Russia's gigantic mega bunkers that they've been building. One of them, the Pentagon reports, and the Russians confirm, is 400 square miles in size. We're not just going to look at the bunkers. We're going to give you the rest of the story, as Paul Harvey would say. So before we get to the bunkers, let's just review some recent mainstream news reports. You heard us tell you this 5 years ago. Now it's in The Guardian just a few weeks ago. As inequity soars, the nervous super rich are already planning their escapes, mainly to New Zealand. As I told you years ago, James Cameron and others are fleeing. They believe the U.S. will collapse. I have that from internal sources. I've talked to other billionaires. To New Zealand with armored redoubts, their own airfields. It's all in this article. Years after I told you. And I'm going to have the crew of these taped shows go back and just show you everything I'm claiming in the past is now happening. Not because I'm saying I'm Mr. Fancy Pants Know-It-All. This stuff's hidden in plain view. We're telling you the truth about what's going on. Here's another report. Swiss Info. Bunkers for all. Switzerland is unique in having enough nuclear fallout shelters to accommodate its entire population should they ever be needed. New York Times. Swiss ready to face Armageddon in comfort. Science World goes over this as well and how the elites are building Rockefeller-funded emergency seed vaults, animal and DNA emergency arcs all over the world. I mean, this is amazing what they're doing. They're spending billions and billions on this every year. Inside the secret luxury survival bunkers for millionaires. You know, I'm good friends with Joel Skousen, probably the top bunker builder in the country. And he won't talk about his clients, but he will talk about the fact that there's a major uptick in billionaires, but also former CIA, FBI, you name it, building smaller ones under their houses. And they're some of the biggest preppers. And why is that? We're going to talk about that in a moment. But when we have some extra water or say get guns or have water filters, we're kooks and crazies and, you know, bad people. 7 million Americans died during the Great Depression from malnutrition. In major university studies broke that down. 90% were self-sufficient back then. 5% are self-sufficient today. Look it up. Continuing, U.S. Department of Defense. Russians still building bunkers. So there it is directly from the Department of Defense when they have Army PSYOPs come out and say we made all this up. Now, let's move to the actual article from Michael Schneider into the American Dream blog, republished at Infowars.com. Excellent, excellent article. And when I read this morning, I said, I've got to talk about this in more detail because he absolutely hits the nail on the head. And the whole article's lengthy, as his articles are, and he documents it and links to the Department of Defense and the Russian government itself. We just showed you some of those links. Did you know the Russians have a massive underground complex in the Ural Mountains that has been estimated to be approximately 400 square miles in size? And then they go through the fact that it's roughly as big as the area inside the D.C. Beltway, and that they've got at least 5 other major systems. Now, here's the rest of the story. Switzerland has bunkers for all their people with anti-tank weapons, with food, with water, with generators, and with sniper rifles, assault rifles, heavy machine guns for every man and woman in the country. And in their homes by law, they've got to have hidden weapons in case a tyrannical government took over, which has happened in Switzerland in the time of William Tell. That's where their whole culture came from, that our culture is based in part on. So you won't get taught that in school, but look it up. It's a historical fact. They'd had a takeover, and William Tell started an uprising against him when they made him shoot the apple off his son's head with the crossbow. That's all a true story, folks. But they don't want you to know those archetypes that were taught in schools until the 60s. They want you to just believe this fake plastic culture just came out of nowhere. It was scientifically designed. Why are the Russians spending the equivalent of some estimates over $1 trillion in the last decade building this giant bunker complex? And they've got subways in them. We'll show you some of those in the articles. They've got, you name it. Because they know that the globalists are planning a nuclear war with Russia. Again, I'm not saying Russia's even the good guys. They're their own predator class, but not as sophisticated. Russia's more like a raccoon when it comes to being a predator, and the globalists are like a Tyrannosaurus Rex. I mean, they are the vicious offensive attackers. But the Russians are a Tyrannosaurus Rex when it comes to their nuclear forces. But they're not offensively trying to do anything. They're under attack, having all their soft underbelly attacked by radical Islamicists and others, and they're actually fighting back against it. In the United States, congressional reports have come out. We know there's been massive underground bunkers built. We know there's underground railways from Fort Hood, where I live close to, and